Did you send out another link, Joe?
Ashley's looking at it. All right, can you guys hear us? Going live, going live, going live. I'm hopeful. I don't know. It just
I'm
doesn't look like
hopeful.
it's super in sync with what we're doing right now, but I'm hoping that maybe it's just a couple of seconds behind, so we'll have to see. Let's see if we can get somebody to check on that for us.
By the way, I'm not seeing the stream on Do Ninja.
What do you mean? Oh, okay.
I no
We can look at
longer
that.
see the stream thing.
Can you see now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, let's see if
Joe,
the
can you
actual
just
stream is working. Can somebody confirm that you
yeah.
guys can see and hear us? Are we shouting into the nothingness?
Anybody home?
Can you actually hear us? Do you hear us live? Is this working? Give us a shout in the chat if you can. Little
Joe, if you
wonky here. Go ahead.
pop a fresh link into the what do you call it? SMS stream, we can get Larissa up and running. We can confirm
Sure.
through her.
Yep, we'll do. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. I feel like I need to be more entertaining for
Yeah,
anybody who may
right.
be out there.
This is wild. Let's see here. If I go back to our
One
chat.
moderately old man, one very old man failing at technology. Da 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 da.
It doesn't even show us as being live though. I don't know. I don't see anything.
I had the little red thing that says I'm on the air.
Do you? Do you say that?
It does say it, yeah.
Well, there's no viewers, so apparently we're not disappointing anybody quite yet.
That's good.
Let's see here. All right, let's see if we can get the actual link to this and send it out. I don't even see the stream listed in YouTube right now.
I just got an email that says we're live on YouTube.
Does it? Oh, that's cool. Let's see here. If we go to our channel.
I'm making a really silly face on that email.
Let's see if anybody can confirm us. Hey, looks like they hear us. All right, cool. So we're live. Great. Glad to hear it. Maybe somebody can help me. Ashley, I don't know if you can help. Just by kind of throw the new stream URL up there somewhere, or if it's the old stream link, that'd be great too. So glad to hear people can see us at least. We do have a bunch of stuff to talk about, even though it was a bit of a shaky start for us. Can everybody hear us? Okay, microphone sound okay?
Chickadee check.
Awesome. Good to hear it. All right, Tim. What are we diving into today?
A mess, obviously. Don't forget that the record button, by the way, just so we have that going too.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't want it to record the 10 minutes of boringness that we just put on the air, so that would be no fun whatsoever.
I'd love it. I think that'd be the best part of it because that builds our goof reel when we build that
street
out.
Cred.
Yeah, street cred. What are we doing today? Today we're gonna get into some news. We're gonna finally get to that best watches conversation that we thought about starting last week, but ran out of time on, and then got a bunch of new inventory to go over. So I think that's kind of the basic streamlined, let's say, overview or outline for today.
Love it. That sounds good. Well, I'm trying to right now put something together on Instagram to share the updated link. So give me just 2 seconds. Let me see if I can get that squared away.
All right, I'll stall for time and show everybody my very fancy highball of energy drink, so that this way I can keep my energy high.
Perfect. That's exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
Everything's better when it's blue.
Well, that's what Frank from It's Always Sunny would say. At least that's what I would say. I guess let's just dive into it. Let's see what we can find here. So, for everybody that's joining us here today, we appreciate you. Thank you for those who probably joined the other link, which apparently we very much failed at connecting to. We appreciate you attempting to join us, and hopefully you get redirected, or maybe you can watch this on the replay. But I do think, I mean, we have a couple cool things to run through today. We have a couple cool pieces of inventory, so hopefully, some people do find their way to this stream and can kind of add some questions and comments in the chat, because we are hoping to kind of keep people involved and make sure we're talking about things that are relevant to you guys. So, what do you say we kick this off? You want to do a wristwatch check?
Yeah, you go first. What do you got on?
Oh,
Go.
boy,
You got
here
a
we
cup of
go.
coffee.
Cup of coffee. All right, so let me see if I can kick this off for us. So I'm wearing a Planet Ocean. So this is actually, if you guys look through our inventory, you might see this one in there. So this is the 43.5 millimeter Planet Ocean. I think for my wrist, this watch in particular is big enough without being kind of overbearing. I think I should get into some of the chronographs. I think these sizes just get a little out of control. But for me, for right now, this is a perfect size for me. What's your thoughts on this thing?
Yeah, I like it. I buy it with an orange bezel and then send it to me, and then I'll pretend to sell it and wear it for a while.
Love it. Yeah, so that's what I got on today. How about yourself? What are you rocking?
It's funny talking about best watches. I was looking through some of the inventory that we have, and I just couldn't help but put a Tudor on. And my feelings on Tudor being probably one of the best in answers for any price point, but especially under 5K. So I've got a Black Bay 58, kind of the OG
Nice.
situation going on. It's funny when I first looked at this watch ages ago. I had a sub and I was like, why would anybody buy this? And now that I've been kind of learning more about the Tudor brand, and I find myself just grabbing more and more Tudors to wear day in, day out. And I really actually have come to like the gilt accents on this dial quite a bit. I think that more than anything else, it's just a subtle warmth to this dial that, let's say, the subs don't really quite have. So.
Yeah, I think the gilt dial for me, it adds kind of a little bit of that vintage nostalgia to it. Kind of ties back to some of Tudor's heritage. And obviously, I think that's what they were going for with it. I think the 58, I know we'll talk about it likely here in a few minutes on our best watches under 5K segment. But to me, I think it borders on the perfect watch. So I'm really happy with it.
Yep.
I love it. Great pick in almost every situation. So
100%. Well, speaking of which, let's get into some news. What's new in the horological universe, Joe?
So speaking from the market desk, I think realistically, probably one of the biggest announcements, or one of the things that probably caused the biggest stir this week, was Omega bringing out a new version of the Speedmaster. So I pulled it up here just to kind of get our initial kind of take on it. I don't know. What's your first gut reaction on it, and then I'll give you mine.
Yeah, as I take a look at it, I like the colorway. I have absolutely no problem with almost anything Speedmaster. I own one. I think they're very cool watches. That said, and I think it's a trap that Omega falls into somewhat frequently, which is they have their core product and then they just overdevelop it so crazy with like little minute changes. Whereas, let's say their primary competitor and who they're kind of up against on the Rolex side, they're a little bit more judicious about the changes that they make. So rather than just releasing 8 variations of the same thing, they'll have 2 and then they'll make a change every 5 years. In this case, you're getting something new every couple of seconds. And I honestly feel like it's just an excuse to push the price point a little bit. And I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to call it like I see it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but, 10K ish for this it's just a lot of wood, man.
Yeah. No. Let's see if I can close out of this chat, because I certainly don't want to chat with anybody. But yeah, 10.4 already on the secondary market. I don't know if you've seen any of the pricing on these. I'm seeing like 12.6, 12.5 as asking prices for these already. Now, I recognize obviously that's a little bit of the hype that'll die down over time. It's cool. I like it. Do I think it's a necessity? Probably not. Do I think I would buy this over a Moonwatch? Also, probably not. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, hype-wise, my first instinct is yes, I would. But then if I think about long-term ownership, no, I wouldn't. I'd rather, my particular Moonwatch is pretty classic. It's a couple of variations back. I have a Hesalite Sandwich, which I think is a pretty cool variation, and that's the one I'll rock. But at the end of the day, hype is only good until it's over, and then
Yeah,
you're going to see these 12,000, 13,000, maybe even 14 and $15,000 buys. It's going to drop right back down to where they kind of transact anyway in that like 6 to 8 range, and somebody's going to be pretty disappointed because they'll have paid 14 grand for it, and that's a bummer.
I agree. I agree. I think it's interesting. I think the Aquaterra was the first to do it, come out with that kind of more enamel dial versus some of the more recent
Hmm.
Aquaterras that have been, with some of those textured dials. And then kind of now it looks like they've done that with the Speedmaster. So it's like almost like that piano black interior from a car. And then they moved to, my understanding is they moved to ceramic. And let's see if we can check that
Yeah,
on the technical specs for the bezel itself, which is
they did.
obviously
Yeah.
a big diversion from kind of that classic moonwatch style.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about ceramic versus aluminum bezels last week. I'm a fan of aluminum bezels. I think they're warmer.
Yeah.
Yes, they scratch up a little bit, but then you talk to the patina people who are all into those scratches, and that's even more important than anything else. So, listen, win, lose, or draw. I think to me, when you have something as classic as a Speedmaster Professional, the more you stay the same, the better you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion. But then maybe I'm just old and cranky, so I'll take on that responsibility of being the old and cranky member of the team. So
So here's my 2 cents on that. I will say I do like the durability that ceramic offers on a bezel. I am actually not a big fan of like that patinaed bezel where it's scratched all over. I do like it to be crisp. So I think from that perspective, this does appeal to me there. However, for
hmm
me, I feel like the Moonwatch is the Moonwatch for a reason. I think if you're going to own this, I could only justify it as saying I would own this in addition to something like a Moonwatch if I wanted one of those in my collection. Like I don't think it
makes perfect
replaces a
sense.
Moonwatch for me. Does that make sense?
Nope. I would agree with you 100%.
So I think there's this dial and color variation, and then I think they did the same release in gold. Let's see if I can get to that for us. Yeah, so the Moonshine Gold. Have you ever had a chance to put one of these on in gold?
No, I mean, I'm not a gold guy, so it's pretty hard for me to. I respect their, what is it they call it, the Sedna process, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's their gold process. From what I understand, it's got a little extra degree of warmth. I mean, gold is a very warm tone anyway. I don't
yeah,
own anything gold in my collection of jewelry. I would not want to wear a yellow gold piece probably ever. I
yeah,
did try a two-tone sub for about 6 weeks. That didn't go
yeah.
well. I wound up creating it pretty quickly. Listen, it's a beautiful watch if that's what you're into. But
Yeah,
again, I think the Sedna Gold with the classic Moon watch dial is a better combo than this. And and
yeah.
and that's, if I were going to spend money, that's where I'd want to spend it. So
I just remember I was spending a day in Boston with a couple of actually people from one of the watch chats that I'm in, and we went into one of the stores and they had the all gold version, and I tried it on, and it's just amazing. I feel like people don't really realize until you put a watch that's all gold on just the difference in weight. Like it is
wait.
a significant difference in terms of putting a stainless steel watch like this on and then putting the gold version on. And it's like I can
Hmm.
understand the appeal of it, right? It feels super significant on the wrist. But for
Hmm.
me, I don't know. Gold scratch is too easy. I mean, I say that now as somebody who doesn't own a ton of gold watches. Actually, no gold watches. But I don't know. Kind of a toss up for me. I would say I'm more of a steel person.
Yeah, same here. I mean, if I were to buy this variation, it would be absolutely steel in any way, shape, or form. But again, I'm kind of wait for it to do what it's going to do, and then we'll see where it's at. But again, I don't see myself having room in my personal collection for a second Speedmaster. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's a cool variation for anybody who wants that kind of panda look.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's kind of who it's going after, and my blessings to them. Wear it in good health.
Yeah, I guess we'll continue on. I think it's an interesting offering. I think it was a little bit out of their comfort zone, but at the same time, like I just think messing with a classic like that is a little bit tough. But as we move on, guys, if you have opinions on it or you have thoughts on it, I mean, I think there's a little bit of division within the collecting world as to how people feel about this particular release. So be interested to see if anybody wants to pop in the comments their kind of thoughts on it and what they think of the new Omega Speedmaster release. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at on it.
Sounds good. All right, let's talk about 5K and under watches. I've been kind of taking a position from a Baker Street timepieces standpoint of the advocate for that kind of lower end of the market, specifically kind of in that sub 2K range, which I really think is kind of there's some interesting stuff out there. In fact, we were just talking right before we got on stream. I wound up buying four, so we'll talk about those next week.
Yeah.
Just today. But yeah, I think the under 5K. I was watching Teddy Baldessar, a couple of his annual like under 5K, um, you know, best ofs over the last couple of days. And it's the same stuff over and over again, and we're going to talk about some of the same stuff here.
Yeah.
But and I think we kick it off with the watch that's on my wrist, right? The Black Bay 58. I
Yeah.
said it last week. I'm going to say it again this week. I'll probably say it again for the next 10 weeks. The answer is pretty much always Tudor Black Bay 58. For almost any orological question that you have, I mean, and there's a reason why. And I missed it at the beginning of my collecting days. Like, I know you were a much bigger Tudor fan in the earlier time of our collecting than I was. I was always aspiring towards the sub, and you were very happy to wear your Black Bays. And now that I wear them more frequently, I haven't taken even, I haven't worn any of my Rolexes actually in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they've all been
Wow.
sitting in the safe.
Wow.
Which is pretty interesting for me. Um, but yeah, talk to me about. I mean, since you were the OG fan as far as the Baker Street Timepieces crew is concerned, well, give me your rundown on the BD58. What do you like so much about it? Why do you think it's one of the top watches or a do everything watch under 5K?
Yeah, so I would say I think first off, stepping back for 1 second, like I think when you talk about what is each individual looking for in their watch under 5K, I think that's an important question to answer before you kind of start to broadly say what are the best. Because if you're somebody who's never in a position where you need to be in a dress scenario, or you're somebody who's just kind of more like, hey, more casual dressed for 99% of the time, like I think that keeps your options a little bit more open than if you're trying to find one watch that does it all, which I would say maybe recommend different things for different situations. But speaking specifically to the Black Bay 58, which is one that I do think can kind of get through all of those scenarios, it's got that kind of vintage inspired dial. If you go with the black version with the gilt accents, if you go with the blue, it's got kind of that, I don't know, a little bit more modern feel to it. I think the dimensions are probably where I would start. I think the dimensions of the Black Bay 58 coming in at that 39 millimeters, I think that's, really to me almost a perfect size for almost every wrist. We talked about it a little bit on stream last week. But for me, even as somebody with bigger wrists, I feel like it's not like I'm wearing a small, tiny piece. Like I would be, wearing a vintage Omega pie plate or something like that. Like it feels significant, but at the same time, it feels refined. I think the thickness
Yeah.
change from the Black Bay 41 to the 58, where the case thickness went down so dramatically, it made it just infinitely more wearable in all scenarios. Like you could throw that under a shirt cuff without a problem. And to me, like you might not want to, it might not be the way you want to dress in that scenario, but you certainly are not going to get laughed out of a room having a watch like that, especially the black version with some of those gilt accents. It really presents almost like this kind of cross between a dress watch a little bit and I would say a little bit more of that kind of sporty dive watch. So I didn't realize you had it on there. I
Yeah.
switched to it
So
a bunch ago.
yeah, I was doing it while you're talking. I was going to mention it when you stopped. But yeah, I mean, obviously now that it's in frame, everybody can take a look at it. If you're unfamiliar with the Black Bay 58, in its most pure form, this is the black with the gilt dial. I can't obviously say anything to the contrary to what Joe just said. I mean, it is all of those things and then some. I'll kind of add in a couple of pieces on my side. I'm over time as a collector, I've become more and more involved with and thinking around the watch as a tool as opposed to a jewelry piece. Ages ago, it was all about a jewelry piece to me. And, now that I think about them as tools, one of the things that I look for is reliability. And as we've said yesterday, last week, and, as we talk about frequently with anybody, all the customers that we speak to, there are very few watches that are as well built at this price point as this Tudor is. And I mean, Joe, you recorded a video this week with a watch that you had purchased and then sold within 15 minutes. That
Yep.
basically throw it on the time grapher and these things just run completely even. There's nothing that rattles these things, and I have no doubt that a watch like this, service interval may be calling for 10 years, but you could probably run this for 15, 20 years and it would keep running. It might not be as in COSC spec, but it'll definitely run. And then I think the other thing, and I was watching another influencer the other day, was talking about true luxury is not about price. It's about the ability to buy one thing and have it last a lifetime or more. What he uses as the definition of a luxury item. And yeah, this is one of those things where you buy it once, it's going to last you your lifetime, probably your kid's lifetime, and then maybe some, as long as you do some minimal service on it. And during that time, it's not going to be fragile. Like, you can use it, you can wear it, you can do everything you're going to do in that watch, and it'll only look better. It'll warm up, it'll look better. And then I think the last thing that I would comment here is what you already talked about, is the case size being perfect. You know, 30 as a bit somebody who was bigger, and really insisted on wearing bigger watches. Now for me, that 39, even 38, I really, really appreciate where it is. And I like the way it looks as a unisex piece. I think, a 39 millimeter watch, if you're not totally dainty as a young lady, you can really wear that watch, and it really ups your game. And it certainly will be called out and noticed by watch collectors out there if you're wearing a Tudor Black Bay 58. So I can't say anything, more than that. So that's my thinking.
Yeah, no, I think it's spot on. I think it fits a lot of the bill. We do have a couple other pieces that we've kind of curated in terms of what our list might look like for best watches under 5K. And again, like, I think it harkens back to what I talked about a little bit earlier. Like, this is very, very specific to, what you're looking to do as a collector. Like, your best value under 5K could be different depending on kind of your lifestyle and some of the things that you're trying to accomplish and what you want out of that watch. If this is your one
Yeah.
watch that you're going to wear to special occasions, yeah, maybe a Black Bay 58 is not the right answer for you. But if it's something where
Yeah.
you want to
Well,
just wear it every day, that could be the answer. Nick, what's going on? Saw
yeah.
your comment. Thank you for the love from South Carolina. I appreciate you, brother.
What's up, Nick?
All right, what's next on our list of watches under 5K? Let's see what we got.
It's under the lens, pal.
Yeah, we're switching over here.
Yeah, I did it. I did
There
the
we
thing.
go. Oof. I agree. I'm in. Sold. I own
So,
one.
oh, this is again, we'll be featuring some of these a little later in the conversation, because it just so happens to be that we invested and put our money where our mouths are, as far as bringing in some new inventory. But Omega Seamaster Aquaterra, for everything that the Black Bay has in terms of utility and maybe a little more ruggedness, the Aquaterra probably shifts to the opposite side and dresses up just a little bit more. But
Yeah.
as an owner, talk to me, Joe. Tell me more about Aquaterras and why I should like them more than I actually do. Sell me an Aquaterra.
Interesting.
Sell me
Selling you an
one.
Aquaterra here. Sell me this pen. So all right, to me, so I own this same exact model, except I own the summer blue dial variant, so it's a little bit different in terms of kind of what the dial looks like. Generally speaking, so 41 millimeters, I think it's a really tidy case size. I think the lug to lugs are a little short compared to some other watches that are in that same kind of case width. And I think the smooth bezel kind of puts this into a caliber where you can wear this in a little bit more of a formal occasion, even though it's still a pretty, rugged and capable watch of doing some diving, light diving, water resistance type stuff. So I think, to me, it almost dresses a little bit fancier. It ties in a little bit of that kind of smooth bezel, date just, or OP feel to it. I know the teak dial is something that's a little divisive. People either love it or hate it. I think it's cool. It gives kind of some variation as you're looking at it in different lighting. I think the movement, obviously Omega's movements are all incredible, but this one in particular, the 8900, is great. I just think it's a great all-arounder, right? If you're not somebody who's going to be looking for that dive bezel appeal, I think this kind of does a lot of those same things that the Black Bay 58 does, with that smooth bezel and a little bit more kind of formal appeal to it. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna go to the internet and lie, because that never happens. But at the end of the day, it's not my personal favorite watch. But in kind of unboxing two of them between yesterday and today, I see the appeal, I see the value. I particularly like the blue dial variant that we just got in. I think that's pretty hot. I think that's attractive. And I think it's it's one of those things where it's the next watch we're going to talk about, but we'll tease out the Datejust conversation, and then there's probably an eternal struggle between the Datejust and the Aquaterra, and we'll get a little bit into that. But to me, I think this is a little more subtle than the Datejust, and maybe if it's the right person and the right wrist, that's a win for them. And far be it from me to take that away. And I think it's no surprise that they both offer a couple of different sizes to accommodate different wrists.
Yeah.
But I do think that Omega wins in the sense that they have a 38 millimeter as opposed to going straight from 41 to 38, 36. I think that 38 opens up another option. Especially for me, I probably would buy this in a 38 if I were going to buy it. So we'll have to get one in stock so I can see if I actually like a 38 millimeter. Come on, Joe, get on that.
Listen, not a problem. But I think when you look at this versus something like the Black Bay 58, right? Black Bay 58 way more kind of brushed in terms of case sides, brushed in terms of the bracelet. Like the polished finishes here, that polished bezel, the polished chamfers on the edges, the polished center links. Like these watches present just a little bit more, I would say a little fancier. So you're wearing this to a wedding. Again, it's not a pure dress watch, but I feel like the desire for pure dress watches has changed a little over time too. But it's going to shine. It's going to look awesome. The indices are going to catch light and look great. Like it's going to be kind of a nice jewelry piece as much as it's a watch that can be used as a tool. So that's what I like about it.
And it's funny because a shout out to Red. I don't know if he's out there listening, but maybe he'll catch the replay or not. But we're in the process of trying to help him source one for his wedding, an Aquaterra. And to your point, I mean that's just an awesome way to kind of finalize the put the nail on the coffin, so to speak. That's a really bad analogy considering he's about to get married. Yeah, that's a swing and a miss. Sorry, Red.
We'll fix that in post. Sorry, Red.
We'll fix that in post. Sorry, Red.
All right, so moving from here. So this was the other one, honorable. I wouldn't say honorable mention. It's certainly up there with all the others. But why don't you talk us through? I know this was one you felt pretty strongly about. Talk us through your kind of thoughts here.
Yeah, sure. So Datejust 36. I mean, it's such a Rolex classic. At the end of the day, in that variant specific, which is probably the only way you're going to find one nowadays for under 5K, you're going to be, one model iteration back. So you're going to be in the 5-digit reference numbers. You're definitely going to need an Oyster, and you're definitely going to have a non-fluted bezel. So you're going to have a very basic Datejust. But at the end of the day, that is the OG Datejust in a lot of ways. And I think that's kind of awesome. One of the things that I think is underrated about the Datejust as a whole, especially on the 36 millimeter variant, is that it is a strap queen in the sense that you can really kind of change the whole dynamic of it as a watch by just throwing, let's say like a nubuck strap on it. And then it's rugged and you're ready for hipsterville. You take that off and you put a rally strap on it with some perforations, and now you're going to be right at home on the racetrack with the watch. So I think that's an underrated point on the 36 millimeter Datejust.
I think the rally strap's a bit of a hot take for me, but I would agree. On. You could certainly throw it on leather, and I could see it being a hipster watch too. I think
nubuck got to be nubuck.
I think all in all, it's a classic for a reason. It's been a classic for a reason. I think the reason something like the Aquaterra can actually compete with this is because you're probably not finding a 40 or 41 millimeter Datejust in the same price range. So if you have a bigger wrist and you want to stay in that 5K price range, unless you feel comfortable enough to wear the 36 millimeter, which you could, it's totally acceptable. But then you look for, okay, well, what's similar? Still has a little bit of that kind of like Swiss watchmaking, some heritage, horological significance. And that's where I feel like people move to something like an Aquaterra or maybe even a Grand Seiko or something like that.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah, to get anything 39 or above in the Rolex world, you're even in an OP, you're at $7-8 grand,
Yeah.
And that may be a little rough at that point. So.
Yeah. So I think we got a couple of what we would say honorable mentions here. Let me see if I can throw one under the lens and see if I can get a picture of it for us. You guys are probably sick of seeing this one at this point. But I made a video on this one. But I think Grand Seiko deserves at least an honorable mention or a nod here. I think, especially on the pre-owned market, there are plenty of them that would be available in that five or a sub 5K range. And I do think the fit and finish that you get and the actual watch that you have is very much worth every dollar in that price range. Now, I think where you lose out a little bit here, depending on again what you're looking to buy this watch for, um, I see some people are looking for this as like, hey, I want us to be a little bit more of a status symbol. Then this is not the watch for you. Then you should buy the 36 millimeter Rolex and off you go, and no harm, no foul. We're good. Keith, I like that you threw out Grand Seiko there. I appreciate that. But to me personally, like if I'm looking at it as somebody who's seen a lot of these different things and seen a lot of these pieces through my collection, this is one I would absolutely throw out there. And I can understand if people are like, no, not for me. And that's okay. You get the Omega then.
Yeah, 100%. So I would say I have a hole in my collection the size of a Grand Seiko. And one of these minutes, I got to find the right one. In fact, I like to think of myself as a considered collector, meaning I really think a lot about the choices that I make, although some would argue that I just buy willy-nilly. Um, the absolutely wild dial variations in the Grand Seiko universe
Oh yeah.
make it very hard for me to make a decision because I kind of want them all. Um, and then that reduces me to not buying one, which is why I don't own one. But and I think from an horological significance standpoint, you really can't undersell the spring drive. It is a
Keith just mentioned that.
yeah, very advanced way of thinking. It is definitely forward from the kind of the classic Swiss building that has been around for forever. The concept of adding some quartz accuracy, longevity of accuracy. I think that's kind of the cool thing. And again, those really, really, really hand done dials are where I am. I just got to figure out the one that calls to me the most, and then I got to make some money, and then I'll buy one.
Yeah, Keith just called out the snowflake. I feel like it's the one that's ubiquitous with the Grand Seiko mention, but I agree with you.
Yep.
I would say the only reason the snowflake's still not in my collection is because it was titanium. I feel like if it was steel, it might have made it, might have actually beat out this one. The spring drive is unbelievable. I had one. I think it was 2 seconds over like 2.5 or 3 months in terms of time.
That's crazy.
It's
Crazy.
unbelievable. And the sweep of the second hand. I mean, listen, we don't have to nerd out about Grand Seikos here, but we certainly can if we want to. But I just thought it certainly an honorable mention in the sub 5K. And then I think when you're talking about stuff like that, you also have to consider there's a ton of micro brands out there that are doing some really really cool stuff. And in terms of value for money in some of that segment, I really think you can't beat some of that stuff. So I'll throw one up here in a second. I'll throw our Christopher Ward up there so we can kind of take a quick look at it. But what's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that? Having now handled a bunch of those too.
Yeah, so kind of the micro brand surprised me as a business. I was really shocked at how much interest there was around them, and quite frankly, how fast they move. I know you and I spoke with I reconnected with a friend of mine from grade school who found us randomly through the internet and wound up selling us a bunch of Zodiac. And I was amazed when I bought them, how quickly they moved along, how passionate the people who bought them were. Um, you know, at the end of the day, I think that's a great looking timepiece. I'd wear that timepiece. I have no argument with it. It does everything I would want a watch to do. I mean, as everybody knows, I'm a little bit of a snob, so it doesn't quite have the right name on the dial for me. But that's just me, and that's why there are people who pay different price points for different watches, right? But I was really shocked. We recently sold the Aquas that we had in stock, but I wore that quite a bit while it was hanging around. I
Yeah.
liked it. I was pretty impressed by its build quality. I thought the bracelet was extremely comfortable for,
Yeah.
what you're technically can buy for right around $1,000. It's a dive watch. It does everything that you want a dive watch to do, and you can spend under $1,000 and get a Swiss quality dive watch, which is pretty incredible. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have this one as a highlight for later, so I won't go too far down the path in terms of the specs and everything about it. But we'll
yeah,
certainly go through it. But I think when you think about the micro brand segment, one of the things I think is really cool in that sub 5K range is that may mean you get five watches instead of one watch for 5K. And when you look at this and you start to compare this to a Seamaster 300 in that black white kind of configuration, it's listen, is it the same? It's not. I'm not going to tell you it is. It's a completely different movement. Everything about it is different. But if it scratches that itch, and then you can also buy a Farrer or a Manta or something cool to kind of play with some of the other types of watches, then you have a dive watch, an aviation watch, maybe more of a dress watch, maybe something that's a little bit funky or pop of color type of thing, and then you build out a kind of a cool collection. And what I like about a lot of these micro brands is they've become so established that they actually retain value pretty decent. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to go
Yeah.
buy micro brands at retail. Like that is not the advertisement here. But buy micro brands from somebody like us because you're going to take the benefit of that retail hit from somebody else, and then you get the ability to kind of wear something like this that may kind of scratch the itch of some of those more expensive Swiss watches in general. So I don't know. I think it's a really cool way to position itself in the segment.
100%. Yeah, I think we crushed that one. I think we're ready to talk about some new watches. What do we got?
Oh boy, I think we got a bunch of stuff today. I think you're gonna be doing a lot of it. But
Yeah.
I think we're leading off with the
Black Bay.
Black Bay 58.
Yeah, it's under the lens, baby.
Let's throw that back up on the screen so we can kind of talk through that.
So, I mean, I'll kick it off. We started with this watch in the under 5K segment as being kind of the everyday do-all, be-all watch. I don't want to belabor it. I think the two things that we didn't talk about before that I'll bring up here is you now have a COSC 70-hour power reserve movement, which is really big boy stats in a price point that is pretty comfortable. So I think that's kind of where I would call that out. And then the other thing that's here that makes it a little bit more everyday, maybe more of an adventurous timepiece, is the concept of the heavy water resistance, right? The 200-meter water resistance. You dive in the pool, you can go, out on the boat. If you jump in the water, whatever it is, you're going to be A-okay with a watch like this, which is pretty cool. I know we kind of belabored it earlier, so I don't feel like we need to spend a ton of time. This one here is case 203, just came in 2 days ago. It's a full kit, fully loaded, ready to rumble. Somebody's going to be very happy and have a new companion to see them through a lot of time with this particular timepiece. Anything you want to add to that, Joe?
No, I mean, I could gush about the Black Bay 58 for as long as we want to, but at the same time, I will say case 203 available on the website. $29.95. So feel free to check that out if you wanted to.
Awesome.
All right. I think we're back to you, so I'll pan off of it while you load up the next one if you like.
Yeah, let me load up the next one. It's a heavy one, this next one. It's going to take me a minute. I gotta actually lift it. Hold on.
So next up is case 205, right? So that's the Breitling Avenger GMT, and that's the 44 millimeter one.
Yeah, 44 mil. Let me see if I can get it in frame a little bit better there. Here it is.
Hold on.
Oh, did I grab the wrong one?
You did. Yeah, that's all right. This is case 210.
I did. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, we'll roll with that one. Sorry, I didn't bring up the GMT. So the Super Ocean, grabbed the wrong one. For case 210, this is the newest one. Literally just hit the books yesterday evening. I unwrapped it. 42 millimeter dive watch, for Breitling's answer to Tudor on a movement that I think they collaborated on. So tell us what else you know.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think of like the evolution of the Super Ocean in terms of kind of where it is today? Like, I think the changes this round to the Super Ocean, to me, really modernized it and took it a little bit away from kind of what I would say the Breitling heritage and moved it into something a little bit more modern. But I mean, I think this watch looks great. I know they released it in a couple of different colorways. This one is super classic to me. I think it looks, like something you would wear almost anywhere you go. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. I am too. And what I really like that they do, specifically Breitling, is, obviously, I think about a Breitling on a bracelet, right? Like, I think we talked about that from when I bought my first one when you were with me and we went to Queens to pick up my Navitimer. And, it was all about that pilot bracelet for me. That was why I was buying a Breitling Navitimer. With this one, and what I think is really cool about the brand now is that they're really offering them not only on bracelet and strap, but they also have matching rubber for almost everything. And that really takes the dive watch and kind of gives it a very different appearance. And I think really kind of exemplifies the ruggedness of a Breitling dive watch, which is maybe not something you get in some of the other, the higher end Swiss brands, kind of that rugged aspect to it. How much could Rolex charge for a Submariner on a Rolex branded rubber strap? A fortune. They don't do it. Breitling does, and it'll cost you a third of a pre-owned Submariner, and you get the rubber strap too. So I think that's kind of the cool part here. And then the other thing, as far as the first question you asked, which was the evolution. Funny, I just bought another Super Ocean earlier today, so we'll talk about that next week, and we could definitely contrast them maybe on the stream next week. But I think this is the Super Ocean grown up, ready to play at the higher levels, whereas the previous models were a little bit too rugged for me. I think these have been dressed up a little bit. I think they're definitely going in the right direction. And I've had a lot of positive things to say about Breitling's line over the last 3 or 4 years as it's developed.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you 100%. I think it's a great looking piece, and I think somebody's going to be really happy to take this one home. I think for me, Breitling is always those super high polish like bracelets, which is it's actually easier to maintain because you just basically just throw a Cape Cod on it, polish it right up, and it's good to go. But like I remember the first time you had the Navitimer, it was like that high polish bracelet, the high polish case flanks, like everything. It's pretty flashy. It kind of walks into the room before you do, and I think this is a little bit more muted from a dial perspective. There is some brushed, but it still does have that bracelet that like kind of is got a real wow factor to it. So. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Sure. And especially my original Navitimer was a 46 millimeter World. So I literally had to, put a set of training wheels on my left arm to just keep it moving around. I think it weighed like 150 grams, that watch.
Yeah, it was a beast.
Cool. You want to drop the, here we go. I'll make a swap. Going from the 44 millimeter, let's bring in something quite a bit more dainty, shall we?
Sure. You say one, we'll switch it over.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'm making the move. Let me get it in focus here. Oops. It's kind of weird, like moving when you're, moving things around when you're looking at it on a camera. There it goes. Wow, look at that thing.
It's cool.
I like it. I like it a lot. What is it?
Oh, it's Omega Speedmaster 38. It's a classic. Come on now. We've been talking about Speedmasters all day. Why stop now?
Yeah, case number 209 is Speedmaster 38. Shame on me for not being as aware on this watch. I think about smaller Speedmasters, and the first thing I think about is the reduced. And while the reduced, I like the reduced. I've owned several personally. I think this is the real DNA of the Moonwatch, simply reduced to a 38 millimeter. And if I were a person who had either smaller wrists, or if I was a woman and wanted to really send a statement in the room that I am a true watch connoisseur, I would wear this watch for sure. I think this is an awesome watch. It opens up a lot of possibilities for people of different sizes to wear them. And ultimately, this is that classic Moonwatch scaled down 4 millimeter, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think that makes total sense to me. I just think, it's just ever so slightly different than like the way the Moonwatch looks. I love kind of that sunken subdials piece that you have. It almost looks stepped as compared to like concaved. So I think that's a little bit more unique. I like that they snuck the date window down there at the 6 o'clock position. I think that's really cool. And generally speaking, I think it presents, I don't know, dare I say, a little bit more like, I don't know, fancy chronograph is what I'm kind of getting from it. It almost looks a little bit more like a jewelry piece versus something that might be a little bit more rugged, like some of the other pieces we've been talking about. So, cool piece for sure. This one's
listen, you dared. You dared. No, I'll have it up and available by the end of the day. I was in the middle of doing them when we had to get ready for stream, so I'm still working on it.
Yeah. So, which movements in this one, if you remember? I'm trying to think. I was looking at
this is a caliber 3330, which is a 52-hour coaxial manual wind. So
nice.
Yeah, the only thing on the stats that I pulled up that I would raise an eyebrow out is the water resistance, which I think everybody does who knows the Speedmaster professional
For
line.
sure.
You always kind of raise an eyebrow there. And it's the one thing that people kind of ding the watch for. But other than that, I mean, I would agree with you. I think this is the kind of watch that if I am a Speedmaster guy, but I have to go to a formal event, I want to have this in my collection to put it on because I think this would look great under a tuxedo. To be very frank
Yeah.
with you, so
How's the thickness on it?
it's pretty under control. I don't have the measurement here. I don't
I
know
think
if you can
it's
pull it up,
14.7.
but
I pulled it up as we were thinking about it because I was saying like how would that fare versus like a shirt cuff? It fits under there. It feels all right.
I mean, I haven't tried it. It literally got unboxed this morning, took pictures of it, and then now it's here. But I would say it would probably get under there without too much issue. I mean, but you're also talking to somebody who's worn 16 and 17 millimeter watches under shirt cuffs without too much problem before. So, I don't know
Yeah,
if that
I got you.
matters. But from my perspective, I think, like I said a minute ago, I think your point around it being more of a jewelry piece, I think it would be very well suited on underneath the suit cuff, and it would look great.
Keith just recommended we take the bracelet off, put it on a strap, then go right to that formal event. Probably totally
There you
fit.
go.
That would work.
You could absolutely do that too. And then I think the last thing we got to do is let me get the other one since we have two of these is the Aqua Terra. Let me get that Aqua Terra back up.
While you're doing that, I'll go switch to the Christopher Ward here for a second. I'll just talk through
Yeah,
that
go right ahead.
so people can kind of walk through that a little bit. But I know we talked about it a little bit on stream before. But I just think for what you're getting here, like under $1,000 on something like this, where you have a robust movement in the Salida. It's been a proven movement that a lot of these micro brands have put in. Timekeeping is solid. Oris uses it in a couple of their movements as well. So really, really kind of like a proven engine for what's making the watch go. Solid water resistance here at 600 meters. Ceramic bezel that kind of gives you that I would say really the one that comes to mind is that Seamaster look. But then that crisp white dial, I don't know if you can really see it on here. Maybe I'll adjust it ever so slightly. But there's like a very, very moderate, very, very mild wave pattern in this dial too. It's like
Hmm.
really hard to see. I don't know if anybody's picking it up. So it's kind of just those little intricate details. It's like, for a company that's pumping out probably not a ton of these every year, for them to go through and kind of commit to that, level of detail on the pieces that they're putting out there is awesome. And I think the hour hand is super unique too. It reminds me of like a little candle flame. But I think
Yeah,
generally
that's
speaking,
cool.
just a great offering. So figured we'd throw that out there, get that some time. That's case 198. That should be available on the website if you're interested in this one in particular. And then we'll switch it
Yeah,
over to you.
yeah. And I'm really happy that you dared to adjust it. You were so daring with that one. Yeah, let's talk about another Aqua Terra. This is the black.
I know, classic.
Totally awesome classic 41 millimeter. This is, and I've lost my place here on my notes, but do you have the case number on that, Joe?
Let me grab it for
I
you.
think it's 208. I think it's 208.
208 sounds
Case
right.
208. Yep. Full kit on this. Beautiful boxing representation of this as everything that you would get. We have the strap with it. This is really ready for its next collector. Dated, I think 2022. Don't hold me to that. Could be 2023. But I wouldn't be shocked if this was worn less than a handful of times. It's in really, really nice condition. And again, all the things that we talked about with the Aqua Terra earlier, except with the black dial, it's more formal. It really is kind of ready for anything. So I think we kind of belabored it earlier with everything, and I know we're running a little long here now. So unless you have anything else to add on it, Joe, I think we've got the right call here.
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, we talked about this already in the under 5K segment. I think the black dial, like you said, does make it a little bit more formal. We probably didn't talk too much about the rubber strap options for these. That's actually one
Yeah,
of my favorite parts about the summer blue one that I have is that the strap really just completely changes the look of the watch. Like it goes from I
yeah,
feel like almost more formal in this setting for sure to like this summer beach dive watch, and it's just like with just the change of a strap. And when you think about the cost of those Omega straps being if you go through the pre-owned market a couple of $100 with the deployant clasp and everything, it's like without thinking about it, you have two completely distinct watches for that same amount of money you spent for the first one. So that would be my kind of
yeah.
last piece on that.
Yeah, and my not so subtle advertisement is both of ours, the black and the blue, both have the straps. So, whether you're into the black watch or the blue watch, or just buy them both, and maybe then I can finally afford to go get that Grand Seiko I've been hankering for.
There you go. You'll have a
Um,
Batman in two different watches. It's perfect.
yeah, and I'll have a wife that'll be very mad at me because I certainly don't need a 16th watch in my personal collection. So. Anywho, so I think with that said, Q&A, I think we've been covering it along, but I'll open it up here. I know there's a couple of people on the stream kind of hanging with us. Certainly, appreciate you spending the time. I hope we are doing at least a decent job of making you smile a little bit and making you laugh. That's kind of the point. But if you have any questions, anything you'd like us to kind of tackle, even if it's for the next stream, certainly
Yeah.
throw it out there. So while we're kind of going through that, let's recap what we talked about, Joe. Obviously, the Speedmaster news, 10K, new Speedmaster colorway, ceramic bezel. Yeah, I'm all in. I don't want one, but it's real cool. I would certainly wear one if somebody wants to give me one.
That's exactly the way I feel about it. I'm not going to go out and be sourcing one, but in maybe
Yeah,
10 months when the hype dies down and those have normalized in price, I'd certainly be open to having one in inventory that I could wear for a few days for sure.
exactly. And then our top five under 5K, I think we stretched the limit of 5K with the date just rolling in there. I think the real winner there is, and I'll say it again, is the Tudor. But I think the dark horse for me, and shame on me for not owning one, is the Seiko. So now I got to go downstairs and scroll a million websites and look at Seikos and try to see if I can find a dial variant that I love.
It's a grand Seiko, just so you know. Like, let's just be extremely
Grand,
perfectly clear
yes.
on that.
So
Um,
grand.
but I do think, like, if nothing else, and listen, we're probably shouting out just a few people here. Keith, who's been hanging out with us, is probably the one we're shouting out the most. But I feel like it's really almost a, I don't know, in your collection journey, I could see the benefit of saying, I want to buy 5 different micro brands, wear them, find out what my style is, and then find myself whatever watch I want in that style. And maybe that means you move on from one or two of the micro brands as you've gone through the process of trying them out and finding what you like. I know Keith brought up Zelos before. I mean, I own
Yeah,
one. I have a collection that includes the Summer Blue Aquaterra and a bunch of other stuff, that Grand Seiko included. And I also have a Zelos because it's a cool watch to just wear knocking around. Like if I'm going out and doing gardening, oh well, I'm not doing any gardening. But if I was, I could
hold
wear
on,
that
I'm
Zealous and
joking.
I'm not worried about it at all. If I bump it or
Yeah,
whatever. So I think that there's value in all the different price segments. I think 5K is just a number that gets thrown around a lot, and I would say
100%.
hopefully you at least found some fun stuff in some of the things that we went through.
Cool. Do we have any questions we need to tackle, or are we winding it down?
I don't think so. I think we
Okay.
answered some questions as we went, but this is what stream number 2, which got off to a little bit of a rocky start. Hopefully, it will be a little less rocky next time we do it. And then hopefully we can get some questions ahead of time, so maybe we can really answer what people want to know about. So if there's anything that you come up with between now and then, feel free to give us a shout. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And by gardening, he means the salad before a steak dinner. Listen, I'm not going to dispute it. It is what it is.
Well, that's all the gardening
Um,
I'm going to do.
but yeah, I would say if there's things you want us to talk about or things that you think would be relevant for the stream, please give us a shout. Let us know. We're happy to kind of work it into what we chat about.
Yeah, and then a couple things from my side. I know we talked a little bit about it last time, but the merch stuff is coming together. So we're hoping and still targeting Feb 1st for the launch. I'm hoping on next week's stream we should have at a minimum some pictures that we can show, and maybe a sample or two if we can get that order together quick enough. And then hopefully we can turn it over to you guys and see what everybody thinks. And then the last thing that I would talk about, and it's funny. I always hated this aspect of social media, but it's one of those things we need you guys to do. Is really if you're enjoying stuff, hit that subscribe button. Share it out to somebody who you think would be helpful, or it would help to them. Or even if you just think that hey, we found these two idiots on the internet that are kind of somewhat knowledgeable about watches, but we think you'll laugh at what they're doing. Give it a share. Joe and I want to take over the world with Baker Street timepieces, one timepiece at a time. So, please help us out, and we'll be your reliable source for good, honest feedback on what's out there in the marketplace, and hopefully make you laugh a few times along the way. And if we do that, then I think we're taking this in the right direction.
Awesome. Again, thank you, everyone. We have like and subscribe on all platforms, like Tim said. We appreciate it. And until next time, this case is closed.
Case is closed. Signing off.